Hello everyone, welcome back. So today we're gonna talk a little bit more about this Delta Level Defense AR-15. So I talked about this over the winter time. Had put the EOTechs on it, has zeroed it in. Now that the weather's a little bit more milder, what I wanted to do is I wanted to kind of like reconfirm my zero, because last time I zeroed this in, it was like 10 degrees. It was cold. I just want to see, okay, let's see how things work out. So I did some shooting today. I was using this Eggman, which is budget ammunition. Now, one of the things I did is I did have to basically adjust my my zero down a little bit, right? Because when I zeroed this in over the winter time, right, when it was really cold, basically the cartridges get a slower combustion, so the bullets tend to impact a little bit lower. So now that the weather's a little bit nicer, what happened is the impacts are a little bit higher. So I had to adjust it about, I don't know, something like maybe 2 inches lower. Okay, and I took it out to 200 yards, confirmed it. As far as accuracy with this Eggman, I was able to get 2 groups back to back. One of them was 3 inches at 200 yards, so that's 1.5 MOA. And then the other one was these holes here without any markings on them. That's 2.25 inches. So that's just a little bit more than 1 MOA. Okay, so that's at 200 yards. So yeah, so the gun's very accurate. I have shot this with match ammunition. With match ammunition, it did hit a 1/4 inch at 100 yards. So very accurate rifle. It does have a muzzle brake on it, which I do not like. I mean, I think I shot some 30 rounds today, and it gives you a headache, right? Even with the earmuffs, this thing is going to give you a headache. This muzzle brake. I do not like muzzle brakes. I'm kind of leaving it on there because I just want to. The rifle came with it, so I want to have a point of reference. I can compare it to other guns. So I figured, hey, I want to have one gun with a muzzle brake, so I guess this is going to be the one, right? I like the shielded muzzle brakes. I have some other ones that have like the shielded muzzle brake. I like that. I like shooting that a little bit better. However, if you have an unshielded muzzle brake, it works better as far as controlling the recoil. Okay. This has an angled grip on it, right, that I put on here. I don't like it. I prefer the 3-slot rail as an anchoring point. The main reason why it's on here, a lot of the people I train like them, so I want to have something for people to try out. I don't want anybody to say that, hey, I'm fixed in my ways and I don't try other things, okay? So that's one of the reasons why it's on here. I have other ones that have like that little stubby BCM grip, so I shoot that as well. But for the most part, I just prefer a small little 3-slot rail that basically serves as an anchoring point. I can also attach a bipod, because with this thing over here, basically I can't put a bipod directly onto this. I'd have to do something else. I have the M-lock ones I could just put into here, but now that involves a little bit more work. I'm working with screws and stuff like that. So anyway, this is what I got on here. Don't like it, but hey, it gives me something to work with, and again, it gives me a point of reference where I can say, hey, I'm using it. I don't like it. I like this other thing over here better. Okay. Let's see. I do love the rail on this, right? That this Delta Level Defense comes with. They've got actually. First of all, it's got lots of holes. It's got really big holes on the rail here, so that lightens up the rail, allows for good heat dissipation. But the thing that you gotta be careful of is your fingers can, like, especially if you're not using it with the angled grip, your fingers, like in some circumstances, can actually easily end up in there, and you can touch the hot barrel, which I have done, which is another reason why I felt that this was probably a good candidate to put the angled grip on here, because these holes are so big over here. It is possible for your fingers to slip in there under certain circumstance. Okay. One of the things I love about this, I haven't seen before, is they got like lightning cuts, like on the top rail. Okay, which the first time I ever saw it was on this. I have since seen it on some other rails, so other companies do use do put these lightning holes over here. The first time I talked about this, somebody thought that that was for wire management, and I have seen other rails that are designed for wire management. This is not it. Okay, this is not for wire management. The ones with wire management are usually cut into the size. Now this is just to make it lighter, and it works really good. I do like this design. I think the rail is like one of the things I like the best about this rifle. It stands out the most. The sling, Vickers Tactical. The reason I got this on here is because of color match, right? Beautiful color. That's the thing I like. One of the things I love about, two things I love about this rifle is the color and the rail, okay? So those are two things I like the most about this rifle. So it's got this Vickers Tactical sling here, which is very color coordinated. However, I don't like the sling. The main thing I don't like about the sling, it is the two-piece design where to loosen it up, you pull it away from your body, and then to tighten it up, go in that direction. I like it when it's the opposite, right? So basically when I throw this over my back, I want to be able to pull this down all the way down here and make it as tight as I want. This thing, it tightens up, okay? So the way, and I did try adjusting this. This is a little bit too much slop for my preference. I prefer to be able to tighten this down as much as I can. Now I can adjust it from this end here and make it tighter. However, what I found is when I did end up making it tighter from this end, it just, I was running into other problems. Like if I was trying to do like a left side transition, even with this, I still got to swim out of it to do a left side transition. So I found that I had to, basically in certain instances, it was restricting me. So I had to loosen it up from this end. So the main problem with this sling is, I mean, this is all the travel that I get as far as the fast loop. Okay, so I would like right now, for example, it's all the way at the end. If I loosen it, so this is as loose as I can possibly get this, and if I lift this up to do a magazine change, right? Okay, I'm like if this thing was even a little bit shorter, I would be very, like I'd have to come out of the sling. Okay, so that's the reason why this is like at the very end over here, and it needs to be at the very end over here, so that I can still stay in the sling and do my magazine change. Okay, so yeah, so that's why I prefer the other slings that tighten in the other way, that has one piece that can slide all the way up. I can make it as tight as I want. Okay, so I think I have one from the Brash Tactical ones are awesome. I have a bunch of those. You can't get those anymore. There's another company called Tactical Pro Sports, Amazon, $15 sling, $10 sling. It works great. But these are like whatever, like $50 to $60 slings. So, like I said, I got it. It's very color coordinated. So that's the main benefit of this sling. Now, one of the things worth mentioning here, as far as the magazine release, compared to other AR-15s that I have, it seems like I really got to push that button in to get it to release. Usually on my other ARs, I don't have to quite dig my finger in as much. One of the things that this does have, it has, it's got your bolt catch, bolt release on this side, okay, over here, and then it's got a release, a bolt release on this side, right? So if I push that button, and it takes a bit of force to get it to release, there you go, okay? And if you push it, it will release. Now, I did cover this in a separate video. I have found it to be very impractical, right? Because like I said, it does take quite a bit of pressure to get to release. What happens is that if because here's the thing, you got the magazine release button here and the bolt release button here. These two buttons are so close to each other that it is very easy to get confused between the two buttons. So what I found is when I was doing drills where I was going back and forth, a lot of times I went to release the bolt and I accidentally released the magazine, right? Or so that's what I ended up getting these two buttons confused, because they're both push buttons. You push them both in. If you look at H and K, the release is not the bolt release is not a push button. You actually push up or you push up to make it catch, and you push down to release it. So it's not a push button. You have to move it in a different direction. So the H and K design, I don't know if other companies use it, is a better design than the Delta level defense. So I don't like the way this bolt release works, and I don't use it because if I do use it, I get mixed up with the magazine release. I end up releasing the magazine. Now, the other thing I don't like about it is that it is a release only, right? So if I get the magazine out of there, so I can't lock the bolt open with that. So it's you know, that you can't do that, right? So it only releases. So if you lock the bolt open, then I can hit this button and I can release it, right? So it's only a release. It's not a catch. It's not, you know, you can't use it to, and that would actually be very useful, right? Because what happens is in this position here, right? In order for me to lock the gun open, I pretty much have to take my hand off the fire control group, right? So I basically, because I need to come to this side here, hit this with my thumb. So I pretty much got to come over the top and lock this open. It would be a lot more convenient, right, if this was also a bolt catch. And let's say I could push up on this button, so my hands could stay in this area here. I could push up on it and lock the gun open like that, right? So that would actually be a convenience. As it is right now, this is not a major convenience, right? So it's kind of like I ended up not using it because I've accidentally dropped the magazine too many times. Okay. Oh, worth mentioning, this is a $1,700 gun. Okay, so for this bolt release feature that it has, because I think that's the only thing that really makes the gun stand out, other than the aesthetics. You're paying $1,700. I mean, you're getting nice accuracy. I mean, the one MOA groups I get with my palmettos, so it's not like you're getting like super accuracy with it. The best I've ever gotten, I think, with a palmetto is maybe three-quarter MOA. Whereas with this, I've hit a quarter MOA using match ammunition. So it is a little bit more accurate. So the question is like, all right, is it worth like you're paying 3 times for the, you know, you're paying 3 times the amount for the gun. Is it 3 times better gun? And in my opinion, no, it's not. All right, you're just getting a marginal improvement, right? You're paying 3 times more money for just a tiny bit more gun. So I would definitely not recommend this to most people. Like unless you're at the point where you already have, you know, 3 or 4 palmettos and 3 or 4 radicals and 3 or 4, you know, Smith & Wessons, right? Like Colts and of different, you know, the barrel lengths. You know, if you're at that point where you've already got like a couple of safes full of guns, sure, go ahead, get yourself a $1,700 Delta level defense, you know. So if you're at that point, yeah, sure, it's a great choice. But if you're not at that point, I think your money would be, I think you'd be better off having 3 palmettos versus this, because here's the thing, $1,700 gun here, it's a tiny bit more accurate, right? It can get a quarter MOA with match ammunition. Thing is, like, fine, I got the gun. How much match ammunition do I have? I don't know, maybe 300 rounds, right? Meanwhile, I got like thousands and thousands of other rounds of just plain old target ammunition. So most of your shooting, you're just going to do with plain old target ammunition. You're not going to stockpile thousands and thousands and thousands of rounds of match grade ammo. So the fact that this is just a tiny little bit more accurate with match grade ammunition really is not going to be that big of a benefit for most people. But here's the other thing. You got here a $1,700 gun, okay? If this gets run over by a truck, okay, it is useless, okay? Or, you know, if it's stolen or you have to abandon it in an SHTF type of situation. So I tell people you're better off with like 3 or 4 budget guns, right? Where you can, because all SHTF guns should be considered disposable, okay? So the question is this $1,700 gun with the $1,200 in optics, right? Because I got U-Take front and back here. Is this a good SHTF gun? And absolutely not. This is not the gun I would use because it's not disposable. This is an expensive Gucci gun. Okay, so I would rather use, even in a self-defense type of situation, right? And even in a normal home defense situation, this is not my go-to gun. And the reason is because if you use a gun in self-defense, basically the police are gonna hold on to it for many months. And they're probably going to mark it, right? They're probably going to, you know, take it into evidence, mark it. So they're going to mar the gun with their own number, right? So yeah, I definitely don't recommend using Gucci guns for self-defense, because you may lose it, or when you do get it back, it's not going to be, in the same condition that you gave it up in. Okay. So yeah, this is a safe clean. Okay, it's not an SHTF gun. Unless you're willing to part with the gun or lend it out to people, abandon it, trade it. It's not a good SHTF gun. But anyway, let's get back to the gun. So let's see what else we got here. The grip that it comes with, EPG27 MFT. It's nice. It doesn't have a storage compartment, so I much prefer the Magpul ones with the storage compartment. They're very comfortable, and this is decently comfortable. But why not have a storage compartment? It's a good place to put some Allen keys, extra batteries. You can put an extra bolt, an extra firing pin, right? So this does not come with a storage compartment. So that is something that's useful that I think the gun should have. Okay. The stock, I prefer this is a B5. I don't like the B5s. I prefer the triangle ones. For one thing, with the bag rider, because when I was shooting this before, right, you can't, basically with the triangle ones, I can slide the bag back and forth here for elevation. I can't do with this, so I had to pretty much basically squeeze the bag, get it to the right height, position it here, and then what was happening is, this up a little bit. So when I was taking a sniper hold, my hand goes there, so that ugly nut there, right, is basically, as I'm pushing this into because this is on my hand, I'm pushing, that ugly nut over there was basically recoiling into my hand. So I do not like this stock very much. I much prefer the Magpul triangle ones. It does have the QD on both sides, which on the Magpul ones, I have to get the aftermarket socket ones, and I basically screw them in to the outside. So that's no big. I'd rather have that. I'd rather have the bag rider and not have this ugly screw here that's basically hitting my hand over here when I'm shooting up, on the recoil. So don't like that. The charging handles are nice. It's one-sided, big. It doesn't seem to dig into my chest too much. It probably will when I put a t-shirt on in the summertime in a couple of months, because right now, because in the wintertime with the heavy winter jackets, it's not going to dig into me. Right now, it's still cold enough that I have a thick sweater on, but I can see it's still making contact here. When I go to a t-shirt, that's probably going to become annoying. So in the summertime, I would just switch this out to a regular mil-spec charging handle. Okay. So what else? Anything else over here that's interesting on this? No, I think that's it. As far as the optics, we got the EOTech in the front. Anyway, one more thing I wanted to add, and I did mention this in the last video, the trigger on this. Okay, it has a mil-spec trigger. It's it's curved, but it seems like it's very wide. It's definitely mil-spec. It's a nicer mil-spec trigger, but it's definitely mil-spec. So I think for a $1,700 gun, I think they should give you like a 2-stage trigger, something a little bit nicer. Now, I'm a big believer in that, like not every gun should have a matched trigger, right? Because like let's say on a SHTF gun, you may want to have, especially if you're shooting in the wintertime with thick winter gloves, you may want to have a little bit more resistance so that you can feel the trigger, right? So that works better for me, like when it's like 10 degrees outside. So my thoughts on this are, listen, if you got a muzzle brake on the gun, I think that a muzzle brake and a matched trigger should be matched up, right? Because now this is a gun that you want to do precision shooting with, right? If you got a muzzle brake on you. If you're going to put a mil-spec trigger on here, then I think what they should do is just put a regular bird cage here, right? And just drop the price a little bit. So it doesn't make sense for me to have a muzzle brake and then give you a muzzle brake for recoil management, but then give you a mil-spec trigger. That just doesn't seem to match up. I think that they should, if anything, I'd rather give up the muzzle brake and get a 2-stage trigger on this. And here's the thing, I'd rather they give you a nice 2-stage trigger. And if you think that you're going to be using, if you want to use, let's say, a regular match trigger, it's easy enough and they're cheap enough to swap in. right? So I'd rather the gun come with a 2-stage trigger, right, or a nice trigger, and then if you want to put a mil-spec one, you can swap it in, temporarily or whatever. But I'd rather have that 2-stage trigger, right, especially for the $1,700 that they charge you. So I think that's important for everyone to know, that it does not have. It's got a nice mil-spec trigger, but it's still a mil-spec trigger. Other thing worth noting, that it does have a pretty big magazine well flare over here. The magazine well flares out, and the trigger guard is integral. It does have like this triangle design over here, so that's just worth pointing out. Doing 200 yards today. When I shoot this, basically I make a box with the 1 MOA dot. At 200 yards fits kind of perfectly in here, because with a 2 MOA dot, usually there's like a, because it's almost like 2 inches, it's like 3 inches outside, 2 inches on the inside. So at 200 yards, the 2 MOA dot fits inside this box. Because this is a 1 MOA dot here, at 200 yards, it fit nicely inside this box, and I was able to get a nice hold. So that worked out pretty good. Now, one of the things that I found, I hadn't really noticed this before, but as I'm adjusting this EOTech, okay, there's a lot of space in between the clicks. So click, 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 right? And then between your clicks, there's actually positions, right, that don't click. Because what happened was, like, initially when I shot this, right, I was a little bit off here. So I said, okay, let's adjust 3 clicks to the left. So 3 clicks to the left brought me here, okay? So I said, okay, let me go 2 clicks to the right. So 2 clicks to the right brought me, like, here. So I'm like, I ended up going like 1.5 clicks. So there's actually a half, like, because it will go click, but then you can still go past it. I would have preferred that there just have been more clicks, right? Because basically I ended up selling in between 2 clicks, and it does hold that position. So yeah, that's one of the things with the EOTech. Like, EOTechs are not my favorite optics. I much prefer the Holosuns, to tell you the truth. Like, I'd rather have the Holosun 510C, even though it's like half the price. I think it's just a better optic. But again, I don't want people to say that I'm not open-minded. I don't consider other things. So yeah, here I'm testing out the Gucci stuff, and I'm like, you know what, this is all good, but you know what, the Palmettos and the Holosuns, they work pretty good, So yeah, so on the magnifier, main issue with the G33 magnifier is it has very short eye relief. Eye relief on this is like 1.5 inches. Holosun gives you 2 inches. So your eye relief is really short. The one thing I do like about the magnifier is you're able to easily adjust the centering, right? So what happens is as you move the magnifier around, because yesterday I had it on behind a different optic, I had it behind the Trijicon, right? So behind the Trijicon, when I moved this to the rifle with the Trijicon, the circle was like way off to like the left somewhere, okay? So what I did is I had to adjust it, I had to recenter it, right? So that the 65, 68 MOA circle was in the center. And today when I went back to the EOTech, now it was like way off to the other side. So I had to recenter it. So the adjustments on the magnifier are for centering. It moves the reticle. It doesn't change the zero. I reconfirmed it today as I moved it, because I shot it before and after. It doesn't change the zero, but it moves it. And the easiest way to know, right, if you're off center, is when you get on it, right, slide your head back, because now you're going to see the shadow. So that shadow should be perfectly centered. If the shadow's off to one side or the other, that you adjust it to center it, right? And then your 68 MOA circle in this case should also be centered, okay? So that's what you're going to do to center this, right? Because if you get on it, you really can't tell that so much that it's off center. It's just that you struggle with it. Your eyes like seems to be struggling, and you're not sure why. Well, if you slide your head back, you're going to see why. You're going to see that all of a sudden you have a shadow that's all the way over or up or left or right or wherever. So center that shadow, and then you'll be able to shoot a lot more comfortably, okay? So I mentioned this in the last video that I did. The other thing is I've got a bubble level in here, right? And this is one that moves around from rifle to rifle. I generally prefer the ones that sit flat on the rail. However, in this case, since there's really because of the eye relief, there's no space in the back over here. So it's a lot more convenient to just get the one over here, put the one in here that sticks out. and this way I make sure that the cant. Right? Because here's the thing: as I move from different positions, if I go shooting at 100, when I'm shooting at 100 yards, the ground is slightly different. Where the target is, the ground's like a little different. When I shoot at 200 yards, the ground again is also different. The platform I'm shooting off is a little bit different. So what's happening is, as you move from different position to different position, what's going to happen is you're changing your cant. And if you hold just two fingers like this, right, and you rotate them, right, you can see how the cant, right, if you can figure that's your barrel, that's your line of sight here, you can see how as you change it, as you rotate it, how that can affect it. Or basically at 100 yards, that can your cant can push your bullets 2 inches one way or 2 inches the other way. Okay, so what you want is you want a bubble level there, so that you're always holding your cant consistent from where you zeroed it. Okay, so a lot of times your bubble level may not be perfect. So I did a separate video where I have like 3 different bubble levels, and they're all like reading slightly different. That doesn't matter. Okay, as long as you zero with a bubble level, right, and then every time you shoot, you have that same consistent cant, you're always going to get the same consistent results. Okay, so that's why I keep a bubble level on here. I put a bubble level on here, so, for when I want to zero the gun or confirm my zero, etc. Okay, so this is the Delta Level Defense. This is a $1,700 gun, and we've got some $1,200 worth of optics on here, and it's a good shooting experience. It's fun. But I'm like, for all the people that I train, I'm definitely not going to tell them to run out and get themselves spend $2,500 on a gun. I usually tell them, listen, get yourself a Palmetto AR-15 or a Radical, get yourself some Holosun or Primary Arms optics, and let's work with that, because that's going to get you, like, if not 100% of the way there, it will get you 95% of the to where you want to be. Okay. So anyway, drop some comments. Let me know what you guys think, and I will talk to y'all soon. Okay, well, I did want to give you guys a close-up of this logo, because I think they do have a very cool logo.